I kind of feel like that we need to do like a pre-show so that because we have so much fun in the beginning, getting ready, and then like all this good content is just lost now. We don't get to save it.
I know.
And share it with everybody. Doesn't everybody want to share every funny moment they have? Or
some people do. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But we should do that. We should set up a camera and just like go live on Instagram and just record the whole process.
Okay.
Because then we get unfunny about halfway in the show. I feel like. And then we get funny again toward the end.
Oh, okay. There's a pattern.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. So, well, since we have a guest here today, we better get to it.
Yes.
So today in this episode of Therapist Take, we are going to talk really about the differences of being loved and being liked in a relationship. So don't go anywhere. Hey everybody, welcome to Therapist Take. We are here with our guest today, and before I introduce him, let me just go ahead and kind of take care of some of the housekeeping things, like just reminding everybody to do the thing that you hear on every YouTube video or podcast, is subscribe to our channel, ring the bell so you can be notified for when more videos like this drop. But also, if you're listening to this on the audio platforms, please make sure you follow us, give us a review, and if you're willing to go the extra mile, then write us something nice in the comments, and we will greatly appreciate that. But more so, we're hoping the algorithms will appreciate it. So, okay, so we are going to talk about this idea of being loved versus being liked in a relationship. And I have a very special guest here today. He's been a longtime friend. We went to college together when we were just nobodies. We were, and now we're almost somebodies, I guess.
Almost somebodies.
But I have with me a licensed therapist and published author, Ben Thompson, and he is the author of this book here called Liked. And I've read this book, and I keep it in my office because I've recommended it to many clients. I really like the concept of it, and it really is the inspiration behind this episode, which is why I thought he was the perfect guest to have here today. And so, without further ado, welcome, Ben.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so really love the book, man. I hope that you're getting some traction with it because it's, I know you're playing off the cultural, being liking things on Facebook and everybody going and checking how many likes they got and everything. But what I really like the most about this book is that it really accents kind of this missing element of our, what I feel like is a missing element of our emotional existence, and that is liking ourselves versus loving ourselves. So,
okay,
cool concept.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm glad you love the book, and hope you like it too. We're gonna see how many puns. How many puns do you think we can get?
Oh, I hope a lot.
See, that's why we should have
I know.
We were dropping puns like crazy earlier, and that's why I wish we had the cameras rolling.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
But before we dive into I'm going to have Ben tell us just a little bit about the book, but let me try to give everybody who's listening or watching this kind of a glimpse of what types of questions or kind of the line of thinking we're going to go down today. And so we're going to start out with talking about just kind of the relational purposes of love versus like, and kind of just maybe doing a little, comparative analysis of those and why they're important in relationships. And then we're going to kind of address the question of, it seems like love gets all the glory in our culture. It's all about love. And is it possible that being liked or liking might be a relational unsung hero? So that's kind of where we're going with that. So before we do that, Ben, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to give this to you.
Yeah.
So you can hold it up while you talk. But tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about the book and like the inspiration for it.
Cool. Yeah. Actually, I probably just need to read it a little bit and remind myself.
Read us something out of it. I love it.
What I wrote. This book, it's about self-acceptance ultimately, what it's about. And it is focused on how do you get yourself to a place of self-acceptance. And I kind of developed a whole model through it. I think it's really, really helpful. So it all builds. It builds up to kind of the top. The top level is liked. And liked is really just the ability to enjoy yourself. And so it kind of starts at the bottom from tolerance, then it moves up to appreciation, then reconciliation, and then love, and then light. So it's kind of based on this whole thing. And so it really starts at this, and I really think self-acceptance starts at that moment that you open that door to yourself, and you become just a little bit more tolerant of who you are.
Right.
And then the greatest expression of that as it works through would actually be liked. It's that enjoyment of yourself. It's the fun. The best way I can explain it really is, even if you just hear it, if somebody says, I love you, it feels good, right? Somebody says, I love you and I like you. There's something else, right? There's a different feel, when you get that. And so that's really what the book is about. And it's really about that journey to there. But I like to say any level on here, self-acceptance, the moment you get out of this intolerant position towards yourself, you're in self-acceptance.
Right.
And kind of out of that place of, self-hate. So that's what the book's about. And there's a lot of pictures. I think maybe there was 107
Well, you're known
pictures in this book.
Yeah,
so,
you're known for that.
Yeah, you're known for because you drew them all, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Ben, for people listening to this, Ben's kind of known for drawing with his clients in session to illustrate, and I think it's great. A great tool, uses a different part of the brain.
Yeah, I love it.
But I don't get too excited. I mean, they're about third grade level. Is where about my art went to, and so I just like to say you won't get distracted by the quality and judging the quality.
But I think that is what I think it's what makes it more personable to you and fits your style. So that's why I think it would not be as quality, to be honest with you, if they were like more, if it was like 4th or 5th grade level,
Those upper elementary snobs. We don't want to,
That's right.
Yeah. But one thing, Carrie, what struck me, like when I started reading his book, because when he was promoting everything, I was like, I'll read it. I'll help you out with that. And it's pretty good. And what really struck me is what he was talking about is like putting liked above love is just not something that we've either thought about or even do in a sense. Like we always promote love over like.
Yeah, but I
Seemingly.
was remembering that it was a very funny moment for me. My kids had a pediatrician who was a really experienced pediatrician. One of the reasons I picked him is because I feel like he'd kind of seen everything. And when I took my first child for his well child appointment, I think he was 7 or 8, he kind of looked at me and he said, now I'm going to tell you something. He said, you're entering the phase of parenting where you're not going to like your kid very often. And I was shocked by him saying that. That seems, so hateful. And what do you mean? And I have been so grateful that he said that to me, because it let me off the hook at the days that I was like, ew, this weird boy and all of these weird things he's obsessed with. He used to be all cute and sweet. And now I'm like, what? It let me off the hook that I can love him and not have to like him. And then kind of thinking about your concept of this, I'm thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the way you did it, like pyramid first, step to the top. The idea that sometimes that's what makes special is when you have people I'll always love, right? My kids, but now it's kind of normal. I don't always have to like them. And when I do like them and love them, right? That's when we're kind of feeling really connected and on the same page.
I would say to that, just kind of, and I think you would agree with me, is that when you find yourself not liking your kids for any length of time, I think that it would be problematic, right? Because I think liking, as kind of Ben's pointing out, is kind of the key, the key element to kind of maximizing on intimacy, and connection, right? And so I think it's Hal Runkle in Scream Free Parenting that says, he asked the question of when's the last time that you delighted in your children? And then I think when I would do a lot of work back when I was working more on parenting type things than I was with couples, that question really would hit hard with a lot of parents
Yeah.
who had like teenagers and they're like, they can't remember the last time they
Sure.
liked seeing their kid, and that's an issue.
Yeah, I think it's I think that word like you said, it made me remember that though, is I think it's the vehicle of connection, right?
Yeah.
And that's maybe the power, right?
Yeah, I agree. So before we're about to start diving into kind of the outline that we just laid out for people, but I do want to let everybody know that they should be able to find a link already in the description of the video or in your show notes if you're listening to this to a link, and you can purchase Ben's book. I encourage you to do it. It's worth it. Okay, like it's less than $20, I think, and you can buy his book and kind of get this perspective coming directly from him. But if you want a little bit of a glimpse into that book, you and I did a video on this about almost a year ago, where we actually focused on a small part of his book, and Ben does a great job of kind of going over that in that video. So that is also linked in the description of the video. So check those out. Okay, let's get into let's talk about this comparative analysis. The function, the purpose of love versus like. I think we should go ahead and start with love, because since we've kind of established like that, the approach we're taking is putting like above love. Let's talk about that first. Who wants to go for it? Carrie, go.
Well, the guy, he literally wrote the book on it. I we got to ask
No, he
Ben.
wrote a book on like. He knows nothing about love.
Yeah.
Well, he minimized love and put like on top.
That's right. Well, I want to say this, like, it's not even love versus liked; it's love and liked, right? It's it's
Such a therapist.
not
Sorry.
not putting
I ruined it, people. I'm bad.
it's the both and, right? It's love gets all the glory because it should, right? I mean, it is. I mean, every religion, I think every religion worth following, or has love kind of at the top. How do you express that love and do that? And so it's there because it needs, it needs to be there, and that's what keeps me. That's what keeps me from caring about people and doing that when I don't necessarily like them, right? Or when there's that, is that I have a duty to love, right? There's this. That
Right.
I think I just defined in the book is just love is just like the care and commitment to something, or the commitment to the care of something,
Right.
And so, like you were talking earlier, our pediatrician should say that, and our primary care should also say that. There's times you're not going to like your husband or like your wife, or like your spouse.
Or your pediatrician.
Or a pediatrician. Yeah, you're not like any of that. But can you love them? And so love is really that, like, just that expression of my commitment, to you. And if I'm, even individually, if I'm going to say I love myself, and yet I'm depriving myself of goodness, if I'm not taking care of myself and doing that, I may question how loving am I being towards, myself. And so I kind of put that, obviously love's a feeling, but love is also this action, and I want those two to be together. So that's what I kind of see as love. It's the commitment to the care for myself, even when I don't feel like it.
Yeah, I like that. I like
Like
that.
that too.
I think what I was thinking about is that love really kind of reflects the attachment, and that like you really do, like if you think about it relationally, when you are dating somebody, the first thing you actually do is like somebody, right? So you like them, and then through a series of events, dating or whatever, you fall in love, which I think reflects the attachment. So now I'm locked in. But then I think, kind of to your point, what happens now, you're talking about it from an individual standpoint in your book, but from a relational standpoint, I think what happens is that whether you want to say it's complacency or just getting busy, having kids, life happens, we forget how important it is to like the person we fell in love with. So we still love them. And how many couples have all of us seen, they come in and it's been a while since they really feel like they like each other, and they haven't said it out loud. So as I pointed out to him directly, I was like, the reality is that, when they're talking about wanting to spend time together and stuff like that, the reality is that you might not be the other person's favorite, first choice on who they would like to just spend their quality time with. And I'm not talking about, like picking another partner or anything. I'm just talking about like, do I want to go hang out with my best friend Bob, or do I want to hang out with this person that I'm having a hard time liking right now? Now they still need to do it, but it's the first. I think it's facing that reality that we love each other, but that doesn't always translate into liking each other.
Yeah, well, I think it also reflects what Ben said about when someone says I love you and I like you, it just feels, I don't know, it like rings on a different level, a deeper level, or a more, I don't know, other things just feel connected when you say it like that.
We should experiment with our partners. What do you think? What do you think Monica would say if every morning you got up and before you leave you kissed her goodbye and said I like you?
Yeah.
She'd probably go.
She might at first be
Are
like,
you trying to hawk your book?
That's right,
What are you
that's
doing?
right.
Yeah.
Shameless advertising.
yeah, that's right.
I've already read it.
I've already read it and bought it.
You're the like guy now. That's what it was. Out there.
That's right. That's right.
I'm good.
She's like, okay, Mr. Like guy.
No, relationally, yeah, I think it's that. Absolutely. Can I enjoy you? Can I like you? It's interesting though. Like, relationally, to get to that point though, you really have to like allow the other person to actually be who they are instead of trying to put on them what you think they need to be. Because usually it's like, I'll like you if you do everything the way I want you to do it. Like is that appreciation and honoring of you, that enjoyment of you because of who you are.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really trying to drop those conditions for it. And so I think the trick is, can you like somebody even when they're not acting like you think they should be, or they're not being who they should be? Then you can just kind of interact with them, in a different way.
I think that's something easier to connect to sometimes in your friendships than into your intimate your intimate committed relationship, right? Because, with my friends that are really close, the things about us that drive us crazy are the things that we can laugh and tease each other about, right? But you still really like them, right? And so it's just almost like an easier thing sometimes to access.
Yeah, I think my theory on that is because relationally, like the level of intimacy doesn't run to the depths that create the type of risk that a coupleship needs to qualify as a couple, a committed relationship. Because sometimes when you stop liking your friends, you just stop being friends.
The friendship ends. Yeah, it's mutually agreed upon.
Yeah.
We're friends until we don't like each other, or one of us doesn't like the other. Yeah.
Right. Not always, but sometimes. That's why you have like best friends, because the intimacy rises to different levels. So sometimes those friendships can survive some dust ups,
Yeah, and the responsibility. One thing I read about in the book is, I think, liked is like what a grandparent does for a grandchild, and one reason they can do that is because they have that generational space where they're not responsible for the child, but they can just enjoy them, right? So there's not this sense of I got to change this child, I've got to discipline them, I got to parent them. I just get to enjoy them because of who they are. I've noticed some people get really offended by how good their parents are to their children, because you're like, where was that when I was growing up?
Oh, I hear that a lot. Yeah.
And so it's kind of the idea, how can I be in that grandparent role with somebody else, even relationally, again, where I can just remove myself far enough from the responsibility of them, or trying to get them and mold them however I want them to be. That's when I get to enjoy them and actually who they are.
Right.
And so you can really only like somebody when you no longer have to change them. You just get to experience them. Does that make sense? You get to be present with who they are.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
That's a good point.
kind of the goal.
And I'm also thinking about how complicated that is in a marriage or committed relationship, right? Where sometimes you did, want to change them, or you wanted the other person to change you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And those things start to get revealed, right? If I don't like myself, can I really like you? And can you really like me?
That's when it feels icky.
Yeah.
That's why it's the highest level, though, because that liked is that I don't have to change you anymore, right? You actually don't have to be different for me to enjoy anymore. And I think that's why it's there, right?
Yeah.
Now, again,
It's so painful, though.
Yeah, I see a ton of couples. I rarely see a couple that doesn't love each other.
Oh, yeah.
They usually got that point down. But if you ask somebody, if you actually ask this question sometimes, but do you like your partner? There'll always be that stall. Like, I want to.
Yes.
What should I say?
I remember when I
Right.
used to. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think I could, but when they put the laundry there, on the floor, right? And there's a wet towel on my side of the bed, and it does become harder. Where again, early in the relationship, we might have just laughed about it, right? It was cute.
Right.
Almost everything maybe you're frustrated with at some point you would have found cute that your partner, did. You'd be able to
laugh it off.
to laugh it off. It just gets so serious, doesn't it?
Well, because when you
Yeah.
put the laundry there, it means you don't love me,
That's right.
True.
right?
Yeah.
You feel like that.
It does.
Well, you kind of talked about. I mean, you kind of threw it in there earlier. You said that love should get all the glory, and I think so. Let's talk about why love gets all the glory culturally. Like we don't. I mean, to be honest with you, like I can't remember anything I've read or heard before your book about liking kind of being either more or just as important as love. And everything, we talked about this in our last episode, how, love is all you need, what the Beatles said, and we dispelled that one real quickly.
We broke that myth. We fixed it.
For all we offended my mom and everybody of her generation who loved the Beatles. But, it does seem like culturally, like it's all about love. It's all about love, all about love, and not a lot about remembering how important it is to just like somebody. I mean, it doesn't make for a good movie.
No, I think it's because love is so transformational, right? And so we tend to be inspired to create art or talk about, from a before and then an after perspective. And I don't know that like isn't transformational, right? But I think it's just a stark contrast, for a lot of people. And so maybe that's why it gets so much of the glory.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine reading a book called Eat, Pray, Like?
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same
Well,
ring
if it's
to
on
it,
Ben's
right?
perspective
Maybe
of like, maybe it's a really great.
Maybe it's my next one where I go to India and work on this concept.
There you go.
No, I think I think too. I mean, it's definition of love, right? Sometimes when we say it's all about love, we're saying it's all about the feeling
Yes.
of love. I think when we say it's all about love, we're saying it's all about the commitment, the way we treat other people. I mean, I think it's a little bit different in that way. And so again, that's why I just defined it differently than just, it's actually this care and commitment. I think that's what we've lost in our culture is that love is feeling deep, just it's not below that. So it's again, an interesting concept, but I it is cool again to be able to transcend or move up to that into the next level. And I put that in the book, right? I mean, if you just stopped at love, right? Great. That's an amazing life. Or I mean, that sort of thing. I mean, we want to shoot for that. So it's not like our culture. It's like, and if you're at love and not like, then there's something wrong with you.
Right.
It's like, this is absolutely great. This kind of is that icing on there. That's a little, that's a little higher.
And to be honest, like falling in love is it's a great experience. I mean, it's like I can remember with my wife, I can remember when I felt like I started to like her, and I remember falling in love with her. And I'm sorry, Mr. Light Guy, love wins on that deal.
Right.
That was a much more fun and memorable experience. Also, kind of terrifying, But that's where I think, let's kind of move into the next one, where I think that liking is kind of the relational unsung hero. And to be honest, I've never thought about that before until I read Ben's book. And so, but in thinking about it, moving this from an individualistic standpoint, which I don't know if you're going to write a sequel to your book, I'm sure writing is very painful,
Right.
Yeah.
of a process, but moving that concept of being liked from just learning to like yourself to now relationally remembering or learning, relearning or whatever to like your partner. Because despite what everybody says in terms of everybody likes to rewrite history when things aren't going well,
Right.
People, if they just won't get together if they don't like each other in the beginning, right? There has to at least minimum be some form of liking. And the falling in love is great. And then I'm wondering what happens sometimes is that people they don't do well when it's time to move into liking again. You know, we've fallen in love. We have done the attachment work. You know, our bodies, our brains did what it was supposed to do to create this attachment with each other. We're there now. Now it's time to like each other, and people don't want to give up the loving. And I don't know. Maybe I might be wrong. Ben, you're the pro here.
Well, I don't think it's giving up, but I don't think you're giving up love to be liked, right? I mean, I think that's the pyramid approach, is that it's building on that, right? You can get there because you've done the work.
But don't you think it might feel like that a little bit to people, like that as love kind of, you don't know what, as we talked about last week, no one's in the honeymoon phase forever, right?
Right.
So it doesn't feel, love doesn't feel the same as like it does in the beginning. You know, and so I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
You're not giving it up. You're really maximizing on it.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if there's some kind of fear there, like there's some kind of understanding as it's time now to move into this part of the relationship, and people don't respond to that well sometimes, you know, and then they really become unlikable. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I was thinking as you're saying that, just the, you know, like you're probably going to like your neighbors, you like yourself, you know, kind of idea too. And so I do think it's, as you can get there with yourself, you can more easily get there with somebody else relationally. I think that's the point, is that, and I put it in the book, when you like yourself again, you're saying, I don't have to be any different to enjoy myself, right? It's this ability to enjoy yourself where you are at that point. Yeah. And I think in the liking relationship, again, is being able to like somebody at that point without any need to change. I mean, you just get to experience another person at that point. And I think, you know, also experience their craziness, right? I like to joke with couples that your marriage really begins when you can accept that your partner married a crazy person.
I like it.
You know, and so either you're going to be driven crazy or you're going to find a way to like it, right? To be present, be present with it. And so I think it's, again, I think as you're able to like yourself, again, take all those conditions off and just enjoy, you know, laugh at your own jokes, you know, take yourself lightly, things like that.
Yeah.
So
that's why I think also like the book he wrote is really the first one that has to be addressed, because I mean, how many times, you know, are we working with couples, especially like doing the betrayal trauma, where almost hands down, it's never, you know, someone's betrayal, someone's infidelity is never about not loving their partner, and it's not even about not liking their partner. It really boils down to them not loving themselves enough to not cheat, you know. And I think to take that a step further, to Ben's point, is maybe not even liking themselves enough to not act outside of the relationship like that. So.
Yeah, I think if you're asking the question, why does that happen? I think it's just kind of just getting a developmental psychology lens over here, because there's so much that happens along the way in your individual psychologies, couple psychologies, family, you know. And so I think who you used to, I think, you know, kind of thinking about it from the way you're speaking there, Ben, too, is that we're always reinventing ourselves. And sometimes in that process, we may not like, right? Or we may be trying to grapple with, or we may be in the process of change, right? And that's going to happen at the individual level as well as the couple level. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of moving pieces.
A lot of
usually.
moving pieces.
Yeah. I would agree 100% with that. Well, I really appreciate the discussion.
Yeah.
I hope everybody who sees this or hears this will check out the book. I mean, I don't want to oversell it and be like, you know, kind of like I do that with movies all the time, where I'm like, oh, this movie was so amazing. People are like, hey, it really wasn't that great.
That's all right.
But I really kind of feel that way about the book.
But I think that even just hearing you talk about it from this, and this, that's so helpful. I can hear the clinician in you, because it's not just throwing out concepts and ideas. It's actually guidance, direction, and there's some, you know, constraints and boundaries around it. And I think that's a tool that can be used. And I think that people can, even if they take just a minute and hear all those words and connect to their bodies and how you feel about each one of those, that's going to tell you a lot. And that's a really good place to start to build that self-awareness, and then to build the language around it to share with your partners.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that, you know, one of the big points that acceptance starts the moment you quit trying to keep the door shut on everything, about you, and that moment you can open that up and then start looking at it and dealing with it. I think it happens at that moment. As I was writing this, someone was telling me, like, hey, you should become the expert on self-hate. And I said, I think that sounds awful.
Oh boy, yeah.
I don't want that, but I will do it about self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And I put in the book, self-hate was really a way to figure out maybe how to deal with yourself. That maybe if you hate yourself enough, you'll improve. And sometimes that happens in addiction too. It's right. Maybe if I just beat myself up enough, I shame myself enough, if I do this, then I'll get better. And I haven't really seen anybody able to shame themselves into health very well. I've seen them shame themselves into more shameful behavior, right? But and so it's trying to self-hate's just a strategy. The problem's not self-hate as much as it's self-acceptance, right? The solution there. So anyway, just really, putting that out there, and just on the book, like, this is a really personal journey as well that I kind of chronicle through that. But man, I just realized there's some ways you can't live with yourself and recover, right? You can't have this. It's all about kind of the relationship you're having with yourself.
Yeah.
That makes that difference. And again, I think a lot of us have just learned very well how to hate ourselves and not how to like ourselves or accept ourselves. So just wanted to throw that in.
I like that.
There at the end, because we've got to figure. We got to figure it out, because there's a certain way we live with ourselves and our partners that are just, they're not going to work. And so hopefully this helps some people.
I think so.
See it.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you. Because I've heard writing, and it's probably why we haven't written a book yet, because we've been talking about it forever. But I've heard it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's a brutal process.
Yeah. Have you seen Rick Rubin stuff on the creative act?
Rick Rubin, are you talking, is that the
music producer?
Yeah,
Music producer.
He's got some amazing. He says in here, it didn't originate with him, but he said this thing that you write in order to know what you believe. Why I would tell anybody to write a book is because you actually have to take an idea completely through, right? And it challenges you to know what you actually believe and figure that out. At the same time, I think a book represents what you believed at that moment that you published the book, because it does keep changing. And part of what happens when you publish a book is you publish it and then you think of everything you wish you would have put in the book. I saw another quote: you publish in order to stop editing. Like, you actually have to put something down there.
That's a good
I
one.
could see that all the way.
Yeah, but if you're going to write, just know you're going to, you really do go into every part of your of your soul and being, and it's an adventure that it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever taken a hike. I did this one time. I took my family on a hike because I thought it was this short little hike in Colorado. It ended up being a whole lot longer. Had I have known the hike was that long, we might not have done it. Right?
Yeah.
But when we got to the top of it, it was worth it.
Yeah.
And so writing, I think, is one of those things that, you can try to prepare yourself for, but just know, probably if you knew ahead of time everything it was going to take, it would be harder to do. But once you do it, it's just this really powerful, experience. But yeah, it does. It does take a lot.
Yeah.
And you get in touch with all parts of yourself.
I
All
asked,
parts of
I mentioned that, and Hal Runkle too. Right?
Yeah,
the
yeah,
author of
yeah.
Screen Free Parenting. I think you actually did some training with him, didn't you? And I asked him once, does he like writing? And he goes, I like having written. And it was like you said,
good.
did you like
That's
your
good.
hike? And it's like Ben saying, I like having hiked.
That's good.
Yeah.
I liked making it to the top.
I'm glad you mentioned him. His fingerprints are through this book, because we were talking about this through the writing of this as well. So
You and Hal.
and Hal, yeah. So he's influenced me a lot, and love his stuff, and so there's a lot of influence, and well, he just the way he words things is so,
He does a nice job.
Yeah, he has a really phenomenal brain.
so cool.
So, how likable were you while you were writing this?
I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah. It's that pressure, no, I need to. It was so great. I loved every moment of it, and I was so present with it. No, it was not.
You weren't stressed out at all.
Yeah, not at all.
You weren't like Stephen King, like your wife is like putting food at your door,
Yeah.
you know, so you
Just eat.
make
Yeah.
sure you eat because she didn't want to get you out of the zone.
That's right. No, I was not that. I was not that disciplined with it in the sense that, you know, a lot of it was 4 hours Sunday afternoon, you know, in a Starbucks. But I don't know. You'd have to ask my family. They're definitely happy when I figured it out. And again, I think the hard things is actually setting that time apart, like actually claiming the time for a book, and for that's going to take time from family. It's going to take time away from work, and
Taking a deep dive.
taking a deep dive, and so. And I wish I could say, you know, again, you feel that pressure when you write something like, now I got to prove that I like every bit of my life, right? And it's like this, but this book is a reminder to me, and I really do think, whether somebody knows it or not, unconsciously you're writing a book for you.
Yeah, I think so.
At some level, in some ways, this is out in the world to remind me a way to live that actually works. Because I know depression very well. I spent a lot of time there. This was my way out, and because I realized a certain way I couldn't live,
Right.
you know, and be happy or be satisfied with that. So it's like you write, I think, almost to hold yourself accountable,
Yeah.
to a message, and then you hope it resonates with other people.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Long answer.
Yeah,
No, a good
it's fine.
answer.
It's a good answer.
Lovely.
That's right.
Yeah.
The long ones are the good ones.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes they are.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But you could have said that a little shorter.
I could. Look, I used to have to stand up at the back of, like in college, I have to stand up at the back of the room sometimes to stay awake. So some of those professors had some long answers.
Long
Oh,
answers.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was not enjoying.
I can be a little
enjoying all
long-winded.
those moments.
Carrie knows. I can't be.
I'm
What are you trying
quiet
to say,
over
Josh?
here.
Just get, come
Yep.
on. Yeah.
Yep. And time. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're done. That's right. And speaking of which,
It's time.
It is time, and we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come do this. And if there's a sequel, I'll read it. But if not, that's fine too, Ben.
Yeah.
I don't have to write a sequel.
Yeah.
That's
You
right.
like yourself. You can do
That's right.
it.
I'm good.
Yes.
Right. I'm enjoying where I'm at here.
But again, everybody listening to this, please check out those links that we put in the description and go get that book. And, and if you like the content we're putting out here, you like this episode, please share it with people. I don't know why we're not just blowing up right now, because I feel like this is a really good podcast. So I think, and, Carrie, you're what makes it good, to be honest with you.
Oh,
I'm still trying to figure out how to sound as good as you on this podcast. So I'm getting there.
You're getting there?
I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Ben laid you out a plan
Yeah.
there. Just pick the book up again.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody